Have you ever thought about how beer is made? Brewing is an ancient craft that goes back thousands of years. Today's beer makers use the latest technology and high-quality ingredients to make many different types and styles of beer. While they embrace modern methods, they still keep some traditional techniques in their brewing process. So, grab a barrel and sit down as we explore the interesting process of how beer is made. Water is a key ingredient in beer, making up 90% of what you drink. The different types of water can really change the taste and quality of the beer. Brewers avoid water that has strong tastes or smells like chlorine or algae, which can ruin the final product. They also aim for the right balance of minerals, such as calcium and magnesium, to get the desired clarity, flavor, and acidity. The acidity, or pH, needs to be between 5.2 and 5.5 for the special enzymes to work properly and turn malt starches into sugars. Without these sugars, there is no fermentation. And without fermentation, there's no beer. After it, barley is the main grain used to make malt, and Canada grows most of the world's supply. The malting process takes 7 to 9 days and starts with soaking the grains in water to help them sprout. These sprouting releases a special enzyme that changes starches into sweet sugars. Next, the sprouted grains are dry roasted in a large kiln, which stops the sprouting and prepares the malt for brewing. The roasting level affects the beer's flavor and color. A light roast creates a pale, grassy taste, while a dark roast gives a toasty, chocolatey sweetness, resulting in rich dark beers like stouts or porters. Malt is also used in baking, making syrup for bread and powder for sweet milkshakes. Then comes mashing, where the toasty malt is crushed or cracked into smaller pieces known as grist. This preparation is essential for soaking the grist in hot, purified water. In this porridge-like mixture, special enzymes work to convert starch into sugars. These enzymes perform best within a specific pH range and temperature. So a large insulated tank called a mash tun maintains the right heat. During this process, complex proteins in the malt break down into simpler amino acids, which are important for healthy yeast growth later. To create a lighter flavor, some factory brewers add different grains like corn or rice to the mash. Mashing is a quick process, taking around 1 hour. After it steeps long enough, a sweet liquid called wort is ready. Now the process of lautering begins. The brewer allows the wort to flow through a false bottom in the mash tun tank, letting the liquid circulate over the malt solids one more time. The wort then strains out of the mash tun tank and into a larger brew kettle. To extract more sugary wort from the leftover mash solids, the brewer pours boiling water over them, adding this liquid to the brew kettle as well. This step is known as sparging. Lautering and sparging take about 1 to 2 hours in total. The leftover grain is not wasted. It usually becomes livestock feed, since cows and horses enjoy the taste of beer too. Then what comes next in the beer making process is boiling and hopping. When people think of beer, hops are a key ingredient, so you're on the right track. With the wort now in the brew kettle, a large tank, it is heated to a boil to help clarify the liquid. This is when the hops are added. These aromatic flowers from the hops vine bring bitterness to the brew, balancing the sweetness of the wort. This boiling process lasts about 2 hours. At the end, some brewer factories add more hops to enhance the flavor and aroma, similar to adding fresh herbs to a stew just before finishing. The wort is then drained again, leaving behind any solids in the brew kettle. After that, the hop-flavored mixture moves to a hot wort tank, where it cools down just enough to create the perfect environment for yeast. A plate cooler made of icy cold steel quickly lowers the temperature in just a few seconds. This rapid cooling allows the brewer to add the yeast almost right away, kicking off the fermentation process. This quick cooling also prevents any unwanted wild yeasts from the air from settling in and changing the flavors of the finished beer. In contrast, brewers making wild beer will intentionally slow down the cooling process to let those wild yeasts join in and influence the beer's taste. As the wort mixture cools, it gets moved to a large container called a fermenter, where it finally becomes beer. This process relies on tiny living organisms called yeast. Yeast quickly begins to consume the sugars in the wort, producing both carbon dioxide and alcohol. Brewers select different types of yeast, each adding its unique flavor and texture to the beer. The brewer takes steps to keep the yeast consistent every year, ensuring the beer tastes the same every time. Then beer starts to separate into various types and styles. Ales use one type of yeast that ferments at room temperature and rises to the top, while lagers use a different yeast that ferments in a cooler environment and settles at the bottom. Ales take about 1 to 2 weeks to ferment, whereas lagers take about 4 weeks or longer. Some brewers create wild beers by using yeast found in their surroundings, which can take months or even years to complete fermentation. After brewing, most beer is stored in cold tanks for 1 to 3 weeks. This aging process allows the flavors and textures to develop fully. Next comes the filtration stage, where the beer is filtered 1 or 2 times to remove leftover yeasts and solids, resulting in the clean, clear beverage that many people enjoy. Some breweries produce unfiltered beer, which is cloudy but appreciated by some drinkers for its unique and complex flavors. After the beer has matured and been filtered, it is ready for packaging into bottles, cans, or kegs. This bottling process happens quickly, with some large factories filling 1,200 sterilized bottles every minute. As soon as they are filled, the bottles get capped, pasteurized, inspected, labeled, boxed, stacked on pallets, and sent to the warehouse for shipping. Bottled beer typically lasts for about 3 months and should be stored upright at home. Next comes canning, where the cans are also sterilized before filling. As they move down the production line, they receive lids, are sealed, quality checked, dated, and arranged into 6-packs if needed. Like bottled beer, canned beer also has a shelf life of about 3 months. Racking kegs involves sealing draft beer in sterilized kegs for quick shipping, as it is usually consumed within a few weeks. And lastly, while brewing today uses modern science and technology, the enjoyment of beer still relies on the same important factor: the quality of the final product. Next, we can take pride in the beer made because the brewing processes are carefully controlled and closely monitored. Every ingredient used in brewing is approved by health authorities, and regular inspections of breweries are conducted at both provincial and federal levels to ensure the highest standards are met. Understanding the natural ingredients and processes behind beer production enhances our appreciation for this beloved beverage. Which ingredient do you think is the most crucial to the brewing process? Hops or barley? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe.